If you need to scale this at 10, that's understandable. Going into London close. I'm going for 15 for my scale. So let's just call it limit 10 for scale. You can do it 12, technically. 13. Excuse me a second. I'm limit 10 to scale half. Again, it's closer to 93.7. 3 was 10. Actually, 08 will get your scale for half to get your 1-to-1 RR. So I'll move to 08 for the scale. And again, if you don't like the trade or you're concerned about the trade, right, my request is that you please take it off, right? Please take it off while it's profitable instead of trying to avoid the 15-point stop. It'll benefit you significantly on the back end. By the way, ES set up completely on the outside too. See that? There. It was there, and this was a trap back into. That was a really good setup on ES on the outside. See that trap back in? Frank, did you see the trap back in on that? Um, Hold on. You had a signal I didn't have. Frank, did you saw that trap? Okay. Did you catch it? Off that 20 range when it traps like that, especially on that POC over POC pink bar stop trap back in, that is a nice freaking trade. And I'm awfully close to scale. I just need one more point. Come on, you bastards. 8, please. Filled. risk free. And considering we're going to the close of London, all out close 1375. All out plus 20, roughly. Oh, I see what you did wrong. Matt, let me know when you're in the room. I'll explain what you did wrong. I see it immediately. Did anyone get the long down here? Did anyone take the long with me? Nice job, Sean. Perfect trade. This is, you don't want to push here, in my opinion, but you're just getting shorts to cover into London close. You should be scaled or done. And not only that, but if you're trying to get a trade, 2 contracts right there, that was a 91, 01, 11, $500 contract trade, right? That's all you need in a day. That's it. As a matter of fact, you do 2, 3 of those a week, and you're still banging down big money. An increase in size. Great trade and great discipline, and you didn't falter on the way down. That was fantastic. That's exactly what you're supposed to do. You're done for the day. You got to build on that. Good job, Ben. That's great. How far away, Ben? If you can DM me on the qualification thing, yeah, good idea. This is where you, in the summertime, right? So what happens is my mind usually starts racing. Hey, Mark, did you grab the long by chance? Just out of interest. Maybe Mark's not in the room. Did you take the long? I was asking. Okay. And no problem. I was just wondering. And if you look on that, again, it's set up so far outside. So if you look on the 40, right? So this was, so when you look, right, this was B grade. This was A grade. This was A grade, right? So this one stopped, right? But we were still hunting for, I don't know why. I just didn't choose to take that. I didn't choose to take that. I was actually, did it take out the stop? Okay, see this right here? See how it doesn't take out the see how we took out the stops off that swing from 3:30 in the morning? Okay, that's what made this trade better than this trade. But if you had taken this and gotten stopped, that would be of value. But if you look at those two charts, right? So let's see if we can line these up. Where's my vertical line? So there's trade one, right? So if I had taken this pink bar and I'd seen that star up, right, you would have. So this is how you match up the two time frames. If we, by the time we got this POC over POC, right, you already up on your pink bar. How much would you been up? We can find out, right? Because this is how you know you can manage that in that straight down rotation. You've been long the pink bar. So it went 17 to 32, 17, 27, 15 points, 1-to-1 RR, right? You may have gotten exactly 1-to-1. You may have missed it by a hair, but let's just say for sake of conversation, it went 1-to-1, right? Then I took my trade right here at 93.25 or 93.50. I forget where I entered it exactly, but a bit of buy stop there, right? So just filled it when it popped up, right? Stop right down here at the low. And then that lined up with. Okay, Matt, you can hear me? Sir? If you can pop into general and tell me if you can hear me. Okay. Oh, yeah, there you are. Okay. Okay, so Matt, hold on, let me finish this explanation really quick. So when I took that long, this is where this bar completes. So I'm going to put a vertical line on the bar, the next POC over POC is right there. So this bar probably completed right here at the same time, right? Meaning the POC up on the 40. How's that possible? They had to complete to the right. Let's see where the next bar is. Okay, it probably completed right here, somewhere in between these two, just above, right? So anyway, that bar and the POC over POC on the 40 completed at the same time. So you can see even there, I've come out early on the trade. But what we're lining up is both bars in this case, both bars are completely outside and they're both lining up. I took my 1-to-1 off. My faith in how far they can push it's a little raggedy, so I took it off for 20, right? Plus, I'm pretty high for my first trade. Now to go back to Matt. So a couple of things, Matt. Before we took the short, you got everything lined up outside on the you got A plus on the 40 range. So see how this, so I went through this earlier. I'm going to go through it because I think it'll benefit everyone again, right? Let me erase the lines. Oh, I can't see Jack. Let's see, erase the lines. Okay, so just watch on this and see what you see, okay? This should be an algo. It's not. Completely outside, okay? Completely outside. That's the one we just took. Completely outside. Completely outside and stopped, by the way, but completely outside. Completely outside, you had to take it twice, but it did go all the way to the other end of the range. This is on the 40, right? Just follow me on this. Completely outside. That was yesterday at 9:20. Completely outside. Completely outside. Completely outside again. And then these are traps into bars that were completely outside. So the idea is it's not foolproof. Obviously, you'll take losses on that idea. But when you see this, so when I see this and I'm already in on a smaller time frame, the first thing I'm going to think of is, can I get to the other side of the 40 range? And look how many times it creates just these monster 100 and 200 point rolls, right? So I think if you'd been looking at that, my guess is, because you adapt pretty well, my guess is, hold on, I can't find where the little gray bar is here. Where are you, little gray bar? Okay. So my guess is, if you get the algo to form, I don't know where we are here. This is back on 8-9. If you get the algo to form completely outside, okay, and then choice B is when one bar is completely outside. So that's valid, right? Again, you're trying to shoot it to the other side of the range. Now, you can get in situations like this on the 40, right? So this is pretty early in the morning, but that was completely outside and stopped. That was completely outside. I mean, technically it rolled up, but and probably enough to get your scale on a smaller time frame, right? But if you'll look when these, so this is B grade. See how one bar formed, the other bar was touching. So we're going to call A grade completely out. The two bars that form the algo are completely outside, and they're usually, I don't have a percentage, but as you can see, it's pretty high. They're usually doing doing as much to take you when they're completely outside of that range to at least take you to scale, like the last trade I just took, right? Again, if you look through this scale, this is completely outside. Did it stop you? First time it did, right? Because it wicked behind. And then you probably got your scale if you took it a second time. But if you stayed persistent with the idea, and that was 3 in the morning, right? It swung you all the way around, right? Um, Again, if you look when they're forming completely outside. So you get that idea, right? I'm beating the horse at this point, and it's died. Fair enough. I'm with you. This is going to be an algo setup right here, where I agree they're not all 2 bar, but you got to realize on the high time frame, like that 40 and 80, the wicks themselves outside, right? The wicks themselves. Now, I'm assuming that this will turn into an algo, or I'm assuming if there's a wick on it, this will be an algo by the end of the week when the POC is way out of the body like this. This should be an algo, but this would be too. This would so now you're gonna have to go further in your research and go, is it a 2 bar algo? Is it a 1 bar algo? Like this is star up, star down, and with that purple bar on the edge, I'm just going to assume it's gonna fail back to the other side. And I'll go through it in detail with you on Monday. But this should be an algo right here, and this would be a stop, right? But the idea is if you look at this point here, so if you come back all the way over here, like that will be an algo by Friday, hopefully. Bill's sick today, but we're working on it feverishly to get this to form an algo right here. But the idea is if you look at this, right, and you come over here and you see this, which is an algo, purple bar star, right? We're in agreement with that up there. That you're going to go, oh, that generates 100 point counter rotations, right? Does that make sense? Like the first thing that should be in your mind is this has the potential to go miles, which is exactly why I wrote, and you and I have discussed this. No scales. It's either home run or stop for me because of the size of the rotation that's occurred. Does that ring true from our coaching session? Is that consistent with what I've said? Okay. So then on top of that, so now go to the next stage. Now I got a feeling you didn't have your full screen to look at because I'm pretty sure you would have caught this otherwise. What do you see on the left side over here, right where you're taking the long? Shoulder, right. So what I did was I think I scaled here for 50 is what I did. And then my intention was to short it back if it would come up and test the right shoulder to scale back for the continuation lower. Not only that, but look at the size of the wave to the high, right? And they smoked it. And they just were about to get underneath that wave. And it shouldn't, like if you put that much volume in, it should have gotten, so this is an experience thing, right? Should have gotten nowhere near the bottom of that thing. But hey, we've been up so many days in a row, right? So the trades you took were clean, right? It would have been what would have been better is if you could have gotten either one of these trapped into, but you already know that. But the primary thing here was that this took place so far out of bounds, and I would have said this was okay. I don't know if you got 1-to-1 on this or if it just popped you out for a full stop, but that's why I was waiting. And then if you look at the chart, so first of all, I was already getting pretty hyped because I was up so much. In fairness, so then when you look at the chart over here, and you look at your targets down, right? You just came out of an anomaly and failed. Your next support area is going to be 2407 or value area high. It had to be one of those three back into structure, right? But there just wasn't anything in here from a higher time frame to stop out. I think you just didn't see the left shoulder, right shoulder, because I think you didn't, or you didn't. I think if you'd been in the room, you would have never taken this trade. I'm not saying you should have been in the room. I'm just saying you would have looked at that and seen the head and shoulder. I meant in the room, I mentioned the size of the wave. So I want to pause for a second, guys. Is the way I'm explaining it to Matt the way I said it, or am I fantasizing the way I said it and I didn't explain it that way? I don't care either way. I just want to know that I explained it that way. Okay. Thank you, Randy. So I just think if you'd been in the room, you'd have seen it. And I think also if you just spread out, Matt, I'm going to bet, I'd bet $1,000. Had you seen this, you would have never taken this, is my guess. And then the other piece on the turn down here, right? So you had one wave, two waves, and then the third wave was biggest. And you usually get a reversal after that third wave that's the biggest. It starts setting up for a reversal, which is why I took the long back up there, although I was out quite early. Does that help or does that frustrate? And even, well, you could have said it was you waited for one, right? But so here's what I would say that was interesting, right? When we spoke, when we spoke earlier in the week, because you're having a pretty good week from what I can tell, right? When we spoke earlier in the week, you were pretty consistent on the. I don't remember if you said at least one count or if you were consistent on the 1, 2, and then take the third. I don't remember what you said in our coaching session, but I wonder if with confidence you skated in earlier than that, or because I would have done the same, right? I'll drift on my what was working earlier, and as the P&L goes up, I kind of cheat into it. If you don't want to share it publicly, you don't have to, Matt. I was just wondering if that was part of the deal. Okay, wait. So wait, a couple of days ago you were waiting, right? And then yesterday, because we were so strong to the upside, it didn't give the second and third, right? Is that correct? Right. Ah, that one. Okay, I'm with you. I'm with you. But that was what time, please? Can you tell me what time would it be on Central? That was this right here, right? Okay, I agree. Right here, right? I did too. I missed that as well. So but here's what I would ask you, right? Look at the difference. So look at the difference in the look at that picture. Let's just go to count from where you're at, right? So this is low one. There's lots of ways to count the three thing, right? Low one, low two, low three, right? And both bars are completely outside. A plus plus, right? And you've retraced and you took out the swing to the left and trapped back in, right? Okay. And you trapped POC into POC in addition to that, although that was a very high time frame to use, right? So that's one picture. Now, if you look at the other picture, I think what you did is the opposite, right? Look, this is that trade. This is that exact trade in the opposite direction, right? And I think, and I'm all right with it because we discuss primarily focusing on longs. But then we also discuss what does it look like when I want to take my longs, and that's when everything lined up outside. But then look at where you're taking the trade. So first of all, to match that up, what would have made sense here was taking out at least one swing to the left because that took out three swings, right? No problem, right? Because if you took the stops, you really aren't going to remember this day. If we take this day and accelerate it into a learning, so that it's not repeated, it's going to pay dividends as you grow your size, right? So that was one piece, right? And then if you look at the place where it trapped, right, this is the swing from overnight. That's the next. This was the first swing. It came up. That was the last swing before we went to the high. This was the next swing before we went A, B, C, D, right? So if you look where that took it out, and then it went POC over POC and trapped into purple bar, what should have been an algo, but it's not, right? Plus the stretch, right? So this stretch from high to low. So there's 74, which means 24 would have been your first 50-point stretch, right? So that's if we go 30, if we go by 30s, which is the natural rotation, let's go look and see what the other one did. 75, 45, 15. So that's 3 standard rotations. So no problem. You just missed the left shoulder, right? So then we go 4 rotations. What is 15? Should be 85. Then 60. Then 30. Then 0, 0, which is right here. Okay, so if you look at those now, right? First of all, what you'll notice is they tend to get a little bit behind those rotations and overshoot. That's fine, right? The other way to look at it is in terms of 50s. But either way, this one you definitely don't want, right? But what's happened to you, and it's happened to me too, right? So the rotations get really tight. The biggest rotation on the RTH was this one right here. And it went 09 to 56, right? 50 points. That's the biggest rotation of the US session, okay? So if that's the biggest and it got you to the edge, so now we're going to go 75 to 24. Okay, you're cool here, right? Except when you get to 24 and you get to 75, what's just happened? Range expansion. I didn't pick up on all that. All I picked up on, by the way, just so you know, I'm just going through, that's post-mortem, right? All I picked up on was this, and then at the same time on the 40, and also, by the way, on the 80, which is really rare, it triggered there on the 80 too. It was just coincidental, right? So I really think if you'd been in the room, you'd have been like, oh, I'm going to go on hold, right? And I really think you'd have been long either here and here or here and here as well, right? There's actually no doubt in my mind because you pivot really well. But by the time we got to 100 down, you had to know there was range expansion. And then the other piece was, once we got underneath this guy right here, which you and I don't do very much, but Randy pointed it out. If you do the DVP of this wave to the high, right, that's the biggest wave in a long period of time, right? So we don't do this very much in the room, so we'll just wait a second. There's the POC of that. But once we got underneath the POC of that, see how it came off that line in the sand with a star? Is the kiss of death for that thing. Randy pointed that out. That's not even me. Randy's the one who pointed that out. But if you look, once we get underneath those, if you get the biggest wave into the high and then you get underneath the POC, it backside tests it and comes off with a star, that is a setup. I didn't double the position there, but I'll go through and do my homework, and I'll do that setup again, right? Once I see it and once I know I'm there. So I think if you put it all together, Matt, I think what got you was a combination of this, and then also the other part on this was look at your stretch when your setup came, on top of taking out that swing to the left. That was a 150-point swing, roughly 140. Thank you, Randy. Anyways, Matt, I hope that helps. I'll go over it more one-on-one, but I think if you had just let it stretch out a little bit further and then gotten outside, you'd have been fine. I really do. If I was worried, I'd tell you. I'd have written it to you. Cool. And I actually think I recorded this, so I can use this as a coaching session. I did. So there you go. On top of that, it's saved. I'll post it.